Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to welcome you to today's presentation. Today, we're going to explore a remarkable story titled A Triumph of Surgery. We'll be delving into the incredible achievements and breakthroughs in medical surgery that have transformed lives. Over the next few minutes, I'll guide you through the key moments and insights that highlight this inspiring journey. So let's get started. Let's take a quick look at slide 2, titled The Story in Brief. Here, we're setting the stage for the entire presentation by highlighting the core points of the story. You'll notice that the story is broken down into several key parts, each numbered for clarity. First, we start with about the writer, giving us some background on who created this story and their perspective. Then, we move into Tricky, the dog, which is central to the narrative and helps us connect emotionally. Throughout the story, you'll see repeated references to the story in brief, emphasizing that we'll be summarizing the main events without getting lost in unnecessary details. Additionally, there are sections labeled Some Questions to Prepare, which suggest that as we go along, we'll reflect on certain questions to deepen our understanding. Finally, note that the story is not linear. There are repetitions and different angles, all designed to help us grasp the full picture. This slide essentially provides a roadmap, reminding us that the story is multifaceted and encourages us to think about it from various perspectives as we proceed. James Herriot was a British veterinary surgeon and a talented writer. He was born on October 3, 1916, in Sunderland, England. His real name was James Alfred Wright, but he chose to write under the pen name James Herriot, which is how many of us know him today. Despite his success, he led a very humble life dedicated to caring for animals. Sadly, he passed away in 1995 at the age of 75 due to prostate cancer. His life story is not only inspiring because of his contributions to veterinary medicine, but also because of how he connected with people through his writing. Understanding his background helps us appreciate the depth of his stories and the impact he had on both the veterinary world and literature. Now let's talk about Tricky, the dog at the center of our story. Tricky is a small, charming dog who lives a life of luxury thanks to his rich mistress. She loves to pamper him and unfortunately overfeeds him, which leads to some health issues. One day, Tricky falls seriously ill, and his mistress is understandably worried. She decides to seek help from a veterinary surgeon. This sets the stage for an important question. Will the vet perform an operation? And more importantly, will Tricky recover? This story is a great example of how veterinary skills and compassion can work together to achieve a positive outcome. It also highlights the theme of surgery as a potential solution, and whether it truly leads to triumph or not. So the story begins with Mrs. Pumphrey, a rather wealthy lady, taking her dog out for a walk. As she strolls along, a nearby veterinary doctor who happens to know her notices the dog. And what he sees is quite startling. He describes the dog as looking like a bloated sausage with a leg at each end. It's a vivid image that really highlights just how overweight the dog has become. The vet then advises Mrs. Pumphrey to stop giving her dog unhealthy treats and food, emphasizing the importance of proper diet and nutrition. However, despite the advice, Mrs. Pumphrey finds it difficult to refuse her beloved pet requests for extra treats. This part of the story is crucial because it sets the stage for understanding how overfeeding and poor dietary choices can lead to health problems, which ties into the broader theme of responsible pet care and nutrition. Soon, he falls sick and the doctor is called. I remember how I, Mr. Herriot, had to step in at that moment. Despite knowing that Mrs. Pumphrey was very reluctant to part with Tricky, I took the initiative to bring him to the hospital. I could see how distressed she was. She nearly fainted just at the thought of leaving her beloved dog. But I understood that Tricky needed proper care, so I decided to take him along and set up a comfortable bed for him right in my surgery. This moment highlights the importance of timely intervention and dedication to the well-being of the animals we care for. It also ties into our overall theme of compassion and responsibility in veterinary care. On the first 2 days, the dog doesn't really move around much or eat anything at all. It's quite common for animals in new environments to be a bit subdued and hesitant. Then, on the second day, You start to see him looking around more and even whimpering a little. That's a sign he's beginning to process his surroundings and maybe feeling a little anxious or curious. By the third day, there's a noticeable change. He actually wanted to go outside, and when he did, he started playing with the bigger dogs. It's a really positive sign of his adaptation and growing confidence. He also showed some social behavior by licking the bowls of other dogs clean, which indicates he's feeling more comfortable and is beginning to engage with his new environment and companions. These changes are important because they show how quickly a dog can adapt once given time and the right environment. This progression ties into our overall theme of resilience and the importance of patience in helping animals settle into new situations. And then, something wonderful happened. His condition started improving very rapidly. It was almost like he was fighting back, showing his strength once again. I remember seeing him actually fighting for his meals with the other dogs, which was a clear sign that he was feeling better and regaining his energy. When Mrs. Pumphrey heard about this remarkable change, she was overjoyed. She immediately started sending him eggs, thinking that Tricky was recovering from his illness and needed energy-rich foods to continue his healing. This part of the story really highlights how quickly recovery can happen when a patient responds positively, and it also shows Mrs. Pumphrey's caring nature, always wanting to do what's best for Tricky. It's a great example of how hope and proper care can turn things around, tying into our overall theme of compassion and attentive caregiving. So Mr. Harriet and his partners started their mornings by eating those eggs for breakfast. It seems like a simple routine, but it shows how they relied on natural remedies and familiar habits. Then, to help improve Tricky's blood health, Mrs. Pumphrey began sending bottles of wine. Interestingly, these bottles were also consumed by Mr. Harriet himself. This highlights the quirky, sometimes unconventional ways people tried to care for their pets back then, often mixing personal habits with veterinary care. Overall, this brief story illustrates the blend of humor and dedication in those early veterinary practices, emphasizing the importance of careful observation and personalized treatment. It ties into the larger theme of understanding the unique needs of each animal and owner, even if the methods seem a bit unorthodox today. He used to take 2 glasses before lunch and some more glasses while having his lunch. When she started sending in bottles of brandy for Tricky, that was the time when Mr. Harriet thought that he would really like to keep Tricky as a permanent guest in the surgery. So Mr. Harriet used to find happiness in simple pleasures, like having 2 extra eggs every morning. It might seem like a small joy, but it was part of his daily routine. In the afternoons, he would enjoy a few glasses of wine, and then, to close out the day, he would have some brandy at night. These habits, while seemingly harmless, highlight how routine can sometimes mask underlying issues. But what's really important here is that Mr. Harriet recognized the need for change. He made a wise decision by reaching out to Mrs. Pumphrey because she was genuinely worried about Tricky. This shows the importance of listening to those around us and understanding when help is needed. And on the other side, Tricky was ready to go back home, which indicates that the situation was improving. So this brief story encapsulates a key message. Sometimes, we need to pause, reflect, and seek help to make better choices. It ties into our overall theme about responsibility, care, and the importance of making wise decisions for our well-being and that of others. Tricky was really happy to see his mistress, and he jumped into the car with excitement. Mrs. Pumphrey expressed her heartfelt gratitude, saying she would never be able to thank him enough for everything he had done. She also shared the wonderful news that Tricky's surgery had been successful, and he was now fully cured. This moment highlights the importance of care, recovery, and the positive outcomes that come from dedicated effort and love. It's a great reminder of how compassion and proper treatment can truly make a difference in someone's life. Now, let's talk about why I wanted Tricky to be hospitalized. The main reason was to help him recover from his unhealthy habits and to give him a proper treatment that he couldn't get at home. I knew that his overindulgence was affecting his health, and a professional environment was necessary for his well-being. Moving on, how do we know Mrs. Pumphrey was a rich woman? Well, the story describes her providing Tricky with luxurious foods and all kinds of pampering, which clearly indicates her wealth. She spared no expense when it came to her beloved pet. As for the result of Tricky's excessive eating, it made him quite fat and unhealthy. His overindulgence led to a decline in his health, making it necessary for him to be taken to the surgery for proper care and treatment. Now, was Tricky happy at the surgery? Not exactly. He was a bit confused and unhappy at first because he was away from his comfortable home and familiar surroundings. But eventually, he realized that he was getting better and that the treatment was good for him. One more important point: why didn't Mrs. Pumphrey follow the advice of the narrator? She loved Tricky very much, and her desire to pamper him often made her ignore the advice of the veterinarian. She wanted to keep Tricky happy, even if it wasn't the best for his health. Finally, what kind of luxuries did Mrs. Pumphrey provide to Tricky? She gave him rich foods, sweets, and all sorts of delicacies, which made him very comfortable but also contributed to his unhealthy condition. So these points all connect to the overall theme of how love and care must be balanced with good health. And sometimes, a little discipline is necessary to truly care for someone, or in this case, a pet.